We are Fleck, Rose, and Spears, and we are Supremely Black, dropping content that matters. Last week, we had our part one of was integration bad for Black people in America? And so we're going to continue that conversation. Last you heard us speak, we was talking about Tulsa, Oklahoma, Rosewood, and other communities, Black prominent communities that got destroyed, bombed, torn apart, where people rioted and came in and lynched us, killed us, flooded out a whole bunch of different aspects of things that happen into our communities. And so we're going to continue that conversation and add a little bit more to it about that. So Flake, if you want to jump into where you left off with the resources part, or if we want to just go ahead and dive in on some of the other stuff that we talked about offline, whichever way y'all want to go, we could go. But again, we discussing segregation and integration within America from Black people integrating with other races.
Yeah, just like last week when we talked about it. But some of those resources could have been as Black communities started to make their own things and come up with, not needing other communities, whether it be a dry cleaner, whether it be, somebody who's making clothes, whether it be a person making shoes, whether it be a Black-owned grocery store or garden that is selling within the neighborhood. We've seen situations where not even the most prominent white people, but some that's in a lower level, which we seen as we start seeing Hispanics move into America, they start thinking the lower ones are not making as much money. White people start thinking, hey, these Black folks are stealing our jobs, or these Black people are taking away from the money we could be making. And they will go in and destroy these things, our stores, and maybe, a restaurant that somebody might have, or or they might pillage a grocery store or something like that. So we was already scarce of having resources. And then when somebody come in and take your resources or destroy those resources, then you got to build right back up from the beginning and start all over when you was already trying to build yourself up and you have those lower level resources. Just give a prime example, like with watermelon, it's got this bad connotation with Black folks and watermelon. Well, the story behind that is after slavery, Black people was making money off selling watermelon. They were making a lot of money off selling watermelon and stuff like that. And we get together and be at parties, white people start making fun of it. Look at these niggas over there with their watermelon eating, big lip eating. But they was mad because how much money Black people was making with selling watermelon and growing watermelon. Fried chicken, another example. For some reason, Black people get a bad connotation with that. The story behind that is, once again, after slavery, Black women were selling fried chicken and they was making a lot of money off selling fried chicken. But that connotation ended up being a bad thing. I'm in a certain movie, if I remember now, bring it up again, but they show a political side of Black people sitting at the table talking about politics, this, that, and the other. And one prominent scene as a Black man with his bare feet on the table, eating a chicken all the way down through the bone, gristle, and all that, and he's smacking and everything else. So that's how they put that connotation on us, man. So yeah, it might be, you might have 4-hour drive to get to your next resources when you work in your little community, and it might be destroyed. And you might have to think about going over to the other side to get this resource because it's been destroyed. And, you got to wait till you get your money back up to re-up and get everything back on.
Yeah, and I think that's very important when you think about the resources part of it. Here's another key thing, though. I know you said you had the luxury of talking to some of the elders in your family. What was some of the information that that they had provided for you? I know I had talked to my grandmother as well, which is pretty much my oldest elder that I speak to that's still here. She provided me with some information as well. But what did you actually get from them? What did they say in regards to the topic that we're actually talking about? What was their thoughts on it from living in it?
Yeah, we was talking about from an educational standpoint. And the crazy part is that I thought about this when I talked to them, that, you hear a lot of people say, well, that was a long time ago. I don't know why we still talk about that. If I can reach back to my auntie and grandmama and have these conversations and they went through it, I'm not talking about great, I'm not talking about great aunts. I'm not talking about, like, this is my aunties and my grandmama. And they having these conversations because they lived through it. I didn't realize that my aunts from my small town was a part of the experiment when integrating into the schools. So they was like the first couple of people that was integrated into these schools. But the funny part is they said they would take the black kids out of the black schools to go to the white schools, but they never would send the white kids to the black neighborhoods to study there because they was afraid of what was going to happen for whatever reason.
And so check this out, though. I think that's a hell of a point because what did they think was going to happen? Because history says that I don't see that us ever being of a demonic force that has tried to tear down or burn down anybody else's community or harm anybody. Honestly, maybe we should have, but what were they so scared of?
They didn't say. They don't know why they were so scared. I guess they felt like they was going to have some type of impact and bring it back to their white communities or to their white families or whatnot. But when I asked my auntie, when we got down to it, I asked a straight up question. I said, so did you want to do that or not? She was like, no, I ain't want to go to school with them at all. She was like, I didn't need to go to school with them. I didn't want to go to school with them. They sent me there. She said, to be honest with you, I remember very little about that first year. It was 1968. And she said, because it was pretty much a blur. I didn't have any friends. I didn't have anything. I was, only black kid in my class during that time, trying to learn this, that, and the other. But she was like, I really didn't want to be there. She said, when we all was talking, when all the black people in the neighborhood was talking about, integrating segregation, she was like, they ain't never come up. We just wanted the books. We just wanted the resources. We just wanted some newer books. We just wanted, chalk. We just wanted all the resources to continue learning. She was like, we didn't learn anything different what they learned. She said, but the thing was, we would get the old rundown books, people been scribbling in it, pages torn out, things like that. So she was like, it wasn't that we wanted to go to school with them. We just wanted the resources. And then she made one very key point, man, that shocked me. She said, your dad and your uncle went to school with slacks and button downs on until they started going to school with white people and seen them wearing jeans and t-shirts. Then all the black men started wearing jeans and t-shirts. He said, but before then, black men was dressing up to go to junior high school classes. Like that's what it was. It was like on a regular day. This is how they went to school every day until they integrated with them. And then they started wearing, jeans and stuff like that. She said, which was important because you had black teachers, that was invested in those men and those women that would teach you how to move even when you get done with school. You good with this, you might want to look into doing this with your hands, or you good with numbers, you might want to look in accounting. This is school you might want to go to. You might want to go to TSU, Fisk, Lane College, all them schools that was around in our area. You might want to, go here. But after that, when you got teachers don't care about you, are not able to give you that guidance, I ain't gonna say not care, but don't know how to give you that. Some of them didn't care, but don't know how to give you that guidance on how to move on your day-to-day school, things can change.
I got you. Spirits, did you end up, did you say you end up talking to your elders as well?
Nah, I really didn't have a conversation with my elders or anything. After I had a conversation prior, what I explained on the first episode or whatnot. But one thing that I do want to touch on is something that we talked about offline, and I just want to bring it back up because there might be more people who had that mindset, like you did, Rose, about why there wasn't more Tulsa, Oklahomas, even though we all know that there were. So I know you didn't mean it in that aspect when you said it, but why did it seem like we conceded to what they did to our communities and our sub communities and different things like that in our culture and in Black America? And so I just wanted to make sure that for the people who do feel that way, I think that way, that is very much true in a sense, but again, that's not the full story. So I just want to make sure that we articulate it and that we're giving our listeners and supporters the real and also a different perspective to think about. So one, in all truth, we did concede a little bit, because we can't sit here and say that we have the same prominent figures today that there was when our parents was growing up or when our grandparents was growing up, trying to move the movement to the magnitude. I'm not going to sit here and say there aren't no leaders and ain't nobody out there trying to elevate and cultivate a better tomorrow for Black America in today, but there's not as many or a group or the notoriety or the cohesiveness and solidarity that we had back in that day. But the one thing that I do want to say to the original point is that we have to realize that certain things became our new bombs. So you know how they bombed Tulsa, Oklahoma. They came in there shooting us up, killing us, murdering us, you know, ransacking our businesses, our homes, and different things like that. Well, the new bomb and the new bombs that they integrated into our communities are the drugs. So, you know, the war on drugs and everything. So when they dropped cocaine into our neighborhoods, and they knew it was too much for us to, it was too expensive to sell or whatever. So, you know, Black people being as genius as we are, created crack. And then we sold it to our communities. And that's a new way that they allowed us to ransack our own neighborhoods and to ransack us and to keep us in an impoverished environment and to a weaker standpoint. And then, you know, there's other things, you know, the 3-strike rule. So, you know, when we was getting hemmed up for, you know, weed and everything, while they can sniff that powder up their nose and have all these parties for, you know, the white collar crimes and white collar America, you know, the lawyers, the businessmen, the CEOs and all this other stuff, they could party how they want to, but we get locked up over an ounce or less of an ounce of weed, or even a gram for say back then, and people were serving 10 years. But when they get caught with cocaine or when they get caught with weed or whatever, they get, I want to say from my research, 500% less time than what we got for the same crime or for worse when it was like that in our time. So we just have to realize what the new bombs are, what the new tactics that they use in our communities to hold us down. And so I just wanted to share that.
A slap on the wrist, what they got.
Yeah, I like the bomb thing. What I have to question is though, do you really? There's a great series that was put on Netflix. Was a great docuseries, Crack, and it speaks about the epidemic from when it started to pretty much where we're at in 2022. And I think a lot of people should definitely check that out, because it will show you of, you know, like what we were talking about, of how that continued to impact the Black community, how it displayed Black men, how it displaced them as well, but then also how it put a lot of shame on Black women and how they were even portrayed in movies, music videos, etc. But it was by our own people. But my question for you, Spears, is that do you think that we actually created crack to put it into the hood? I heard you say that. And do you feel that that's fact, or is that creativity on our end, or was this all a game to begin with?
Now, from my understanding and from everything that I've read and researched and everything, they dropped cocaine in our communities. We made crack, from my understanding, because cocaine was too expensive for us to sell in our communities, because our people couldn't afford the price of cocaine in order to, you know, for them to make their money off of it. It was too expensive, and for them to come up, they had to figure something out. And so that's where, you know, you could break it down. You do your little cooking in the Pyrex, you know, and then you got to come up. And so from everything that I read and all my understanding, we actually created crack, but they did drop cocaine into our neighborhoods because of the war that they was trying to get in Nicaragua or something or whatever. And, you know, trying to make America's always trying to make every other country a democracy and put our nose in there. But it was also them trying to get weapons and things like this and everything. So, you know, it was just a whole little tactic and system that they did to keep us impoverished and to keep us, you know, down and looking for handouts or, you know, displacing our man. And then also with that comes, you know, telling our women, if there is a man in the house, we can't give you these benefits, we can't help you out. So then, it was just a whole little system to make us separate and segregate from each other.
I got you. I definitely say check out that. We may have to cover that and speak on that series, because there was a particular president that was in office. I just don't want to get off topic. That had somebody was arrested in front of the White House. Long story short, he had the crack in the bag of who was arrested, and then that's when we started the entire era. So I think that's just very important, because I don't think they wanted to ever have us to touch the white girl, but I do think that they purposely cooked it when they found out that there was a form that could flood the communities. But neither here nor there. All right, so I was talking to I'm gonna call him Old Man Leo from Bama. So I was telling him about, what we're talking about on this and within our show. And one of the key things that he was saying was that not that we had regressed, but in regards to like conceited, he felt that this, and he said it's unpopular opinion, but the niggas, is his exact words, had everything that they needed, from land, separation from their enemy, willing to go above and beyond, to stay detached from them, doing what they needed to do. He said that he feels as if that integration made it weaker, because now we've cut, say for instance, like what Flake was saying is his uncles or his great uncles, they were going to school dressed up. They see the Anglo-Saxon boy there with jeans on. Now they switch up their mannerisms to now they want to go with jeans, or they're being comfortable. So it made or switched our mindset just to blend in, to no longer have our unified approach. It went from them niggas over there got this to now it's the African-American man, or the however they want to look at it, a Negro. Now they're less combative. They're more want to be a part of our system. So now we have a game that is set up to put them at the bottom of the totem pole, understand that they are severely oppressed. And the only thing that they're going to actually do outside of what we've done to make sure they stay down is want to be a part of our system and continue to play our game. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, of course, there was part of the plan, with segregation. With integration, it was definitely going to be like, yeah, we can put some of our rules on them and, make them be uniform with us. Like I said in our previous episode, you always going to have a few people that always going to think that white ice is colder. You know what I'm saying? So they have their own land, they have their own stuff, and still wanting to deal with them and say white ice is colder. But I can't say that's for everybody though. Like when you come from small town America and you end up there and you you're not integrated, you in segregation, you might not. It's easy ways to block you from getting things. We know in these smaller towns where you might not, where it might be 80% white, 20% black, and 100% of police force is white. It's kind of tough. At certain points in time to be able to get it back on your feet and everything's getting taken care of, especially if you hadn't checked out the MLK tapes. I was listening to that today, and they had judges and lawyers with sixth grade educations. Now, how you had a sixth grade education and you drop out of school in the sixth grade, end up being a lawyer or a judge, and then you working with the police, and the police doing whatever they keep you from getting whatever business you might come up with. I mean, there's plenty of times where black people had their own business and they kicking the door and arresting people for no reason. Some of the stuff that was on the docket was being too colored in public. What the fuck you gonna do with that? And then next thing I know, they come in taking your house, kicking your people family out or whatnot, and then you got to start over all over from beginning, all over again. It's like being on a hamster wheel. I'm not saying that Old Man Leo ain't right, because like I said, it is something like that, especially when you had people, because we had our own black people that was with the paper bag rule. You know what I mean? So you had some people that was like that. But then you had some that just did not have the resources to be able to survive without being like, hey, Billy Earl, 2 blocks over, man, I come work for you just to, try to get some money in their pocket. You know what I mean?
Nah, I can respect that. I totally concur with what Flake just said. And the only thing that I would add to, and this goes back to old man Leo, because he was right on with his point too, but I just want to make sure that we realize that integration wasn't something they wanted. That was something we pushed for. So it wasn't really something that they wanted. So to old man Leo's point is that it did fuck us, but I don't think that at that point they was that calculated and they was playing chess to where they said, okay, well, we're going to get them to conform to what we want or whatever, because at that point they were still fighting and imposing us coming into their schools and integrating their schools and going to schools with their children and all this other stuff. It was still a war at that time, and a political war and a physical war with us and our bodies and our aunts and uncles at that time, but I'm gonna call them children at that standpoint because, you know, the adults and everything, our children going to schools and integrating them schools and different things like that, going to restaurants. That was something that we was fighting for more so than they was fighting for. And so I don't think that they was really that calculated and smart at that time to say, okay, well, since they coming in slacked up, dressed up or whatever, well, we're going to get them to wear jeans and, you know, lessen their morals or their standards or, you know, what they want or whatever the case may be. I'm not going to give them that much credit. But I do agree with everything that that Flake said. And then I do agree with what old man Leo said as well. Like it did hinder us. It did hurt us. We did have our own at some point, and then, you know.
And I don't even think on our end it was about us just working with them. I think at the end of the day, it was still about resources. At the end of the day, it was like, we're going to have to work with them to get to certain resources. It's not necessarily we want to be with y'all. I even talk with y'all. I deal with y'all. It's just, y'all got something we want. And we trying to get those resources. And I feel like the resources that certain people didn't have. Like, but I think MLK made a statement. He said, I think I sent my people to a burning fire and we wasn't ready for it. And that was his whole thing on us being integrated.
Yeah, because this is how I look at
a burning building.
Yeah, burning building, yeah. And this is how I look at it. And you know, and of course I'm, you know, the youngest out of you all, but it's just from my perspective is if what I wish it, you know, like when you're doing your study on history and you have things and some things may be correct, some things may be whitewashed. We all get that. But it's like it's something that is being missed until you're doing those background studies or you talk to an elder and they give you that real and that raw and you get the understanding that there was never really anything that they wanted more than to get us to play their game. And to me, I feel as if that a lot of different things is like, even like starting with integration was, if we give them this, now we have them, because it's like dangling, like they say now in the corporate space, you know, the whole world, I feel like now is corporate political, dangle the carrot in front of their face, right? So it's like, when you think about like the old man saying and what his people had told him is, like back in the day, we weren't worried about like, give us, we gonna make ends do with whatever y'all give us. If it's hog, we gonna make the best out of hog. If it's a chicken, we gonna know how to do that. But when you start limiting our resources, the only thing, and he's a radical, so I would go ahead and give him that. He felt as if that it wasn't enough people that said we should have went on and took the same approach they had instead of worried about trying to be civil rights movement. We should have been just tearing up shit, killing shit, and doing it. And it sounds crazy to some people, but in his reality, it was like, you got to think about it. You all have the ability to research a lot of the stuff that we did, and the stuff that's not whitewashed, but you also all have social media access. So, you know, information is readily available to you at all times. But the difference between the generations is that now that we have it, where's the push? And he said that's never changed, because when they stripped us, we never went to strip them. We tried to fight their fight with their game. So now we want to go to court. We know the court system messed up. You got to think, back in the day, it wasn't even people that was educated enough to even tell you right from wrong, or hell, if they could even read it, but they made the law. You feel what I'm saying? So I get where he's coming from my radical mind, but then also being able to live in our space is like, damn, did they really dupe us out of that? Did they throw this game in front of us and was like, okay, now we're fighting for civil rights. What does that have to do with us? And I say that foolishly just to get people to think, like, when we started fighting the civil rights battle, that's completely fine. That's good. I know we know how important it is to vote, etc. but it was never a time where Black people have ever marched into an all-white city and tore down stuff like they did Tulsa, like they did Rosewood, like they put drugs in all of the predominant Black neighborhoods that were not the hood before we know them as the hoods now, like Orange Mound. You think about it, those Black affluent neighborhoods, North Nashville, those were Black affluent neighborhoods that were able to withstand against everything besides actual racism. How do we go from not having that fight, and it has to be at some point we have to switch our mindset to say, yeah, they put us in these conditions, but what do we need to do mentally to wash that clean to say, all right, this is how we got to move now, because in 2022, we don't have the same restrictions that old man Leo and his people did. That's what he want to see, is like, he love what my mindset is, but he'll still be like, they got you. They got you. And it don't make sense. And he'll talk about it every now and then. He'll drink some. He'll smoke. He do what he do. And then he expresses himself more. But I get where he's coming from. And I know he's just trying to get me to think. But I think a lot of people are so afraid to, offend somebody within our race. But in reality, what's stopping us to say we had our own baseball leagues, we had our own football league. Now we go watch the Dallas Cowboys, the Broncos, the Cavaliers, the Lakers. Like, what do we get to a point to where everything we had to do had to be all inclusive to make it entertainment for us?
Well,
could say shit, but just like, you're right.
Well, I agree with because you know me personally, and you know what I'm with.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm with the shits about
Yeah.
Going to make some shit happen. But the one thing that I do think that that old man Leo isn't thinking about, and it just might be because he's too radical, or I'm not even gonna say too radical, just because of his radicalness, is Flex point, resources. It all goes to resources. So again, when, as the saying goes, you can't go to a gunfight with a knife. You can't go to a tank and military type things with just some 38s and some 22s. Like, when people got assault rifles and tanks and all you got is 38s and 22s and maybe a 12 gauge shotgun, it ain't really gonna match up. When people got billions of dollars and they have the cops on their side, they got the judges on their side with 6th grade education, they got everything on their side, it makes it not impossible, but harder for us to go that route. Now, I'm not saying that we don't need to go that route, and I'm not even going to sit here and say that there ain't been people that took that route, because there have been a lot of people who have said this is the route that we need to go, and I'm willing to put my life on the line for my people, and I'm with that. But I do think that in 2022, especially if we're going to talk about now, we have to do it calculated. We can't just go out there and say, okay, we're going to get us some ARs, we're going to get us some assault rifles, and then we're just going to go to war with everybody, because at the end of the day, they've been preparing for this. They had 400 plus years of a head start than us to be prepared for certain things. They got the military on their side. They got all of these systems. They have all of these ordinances. They have all of these structures specifically set up for, if we do go there and we don't go there logically, and we don't go there in a sophisticated way, and with at least some solidarity, where we have multiple groups of us saying this is the charge that we're going to take, we're going to lose. And so that's the only thing that I would say to Mr. Leo is, like, I'm with you. I'm for that. That's what I aim to do. But I can't just tell my people to go run out there with a blindfold on and they not prepared in any shape, form, or fashion.
And a lot of it, I know he plays devil advocate, so I just had to bring it to people just to know, like, sometimes, not sometimes, majority of them had that same mindset, but they feel as if that we have an advantage. So it's just, the benefit of having a old head like that to be able to talk to bounce off ideas, and they tell me their ideology of it, and I tell them my perspective on it from what I get to see, and I think it's dope. And of course, we've had several conversations in a private space. It'll never get put on camera of what the real movement is. We've tied to very good people that really know of what the fight looks like, and everybody knows their individual roles. So I'm not questioning that, but I think it's a very important conversation because as we talk about it and as we are putting action in behind it, I think the most important part is not just the talk, it's the action behind it, because if things happen to go to a place to where it's uncontrollable, what side of the fence you're going to be on, the middle can't be it. So like I've talked to a couple of my homies earlier, it's just very important is that you have a unified approach for one, but then secondly, you know your role in it. But then thirdly, it ain't going to be something that you put out for everybody to join. And those people that you have that conversation with, you just got to know when it's time to make it happen. That's just how y'all moving. And it's going to be in silence because we learned that from our ancestors. But at the same time, to not have the conversation is to not be ready for anything that can happen. So I be appreciating the old man Leo he be playing devil's advocate though, man. I just be laughing at him. But I think it's dope.
Now, and to what you just said, you right on with that, because another thing with having the conversation, it opens people's mind. It gets them to see a different perspective, and it gets them to think like, damn, I never thought about that, or I'm not even a radical like that, or I'm not a fighter, or I'm not a whatchamacallit, but if I do want my liberty, if I do want true freedom and equity and equality, I'm gonna have to find my lane under this umbrella. Now, I might not be the one on the front lines, but what I can do is go out there and help us get resources and attain resources. I could be a fundraiser. I could be, the penman and write these letters in the Underground Railroad type thing, or, code stuff or whatever the case may be. I could be a medic and help my people who are on the front lines. If they do get injured, okay, well, bring them to me. I could, sew them up, tend to them, or whatever the case may be. I could be a nurturer, and I could make meals and do all this other stuff. And I could be that community that I think we don't have now that they had in the 60s or whatever the case may be, when there was Malcolm and when there was MLK, when they was taking these trips. A lot of times they was broke, but they had the community that said, oh, we're going to open our house to you. You could come stay with us versus going to this hotel. We're going to make sure you got a home-cooked meal and that you eat good while you're here. We're going to make sure that we take care of you. So if you come to Alabama, if you go to Tennessee, if you go to Texas, or wherever you're traveling, we're going to make sure that your travel and your safety and your protection is covered. And I don't think we do that anymore. We don't have that community no more. We don't have grandparents staying in the same neighborhoods for 30 and something years anymore. And when I say grandparents, I know some of our grandparents are still living. So we do still have them who's been in that neighborhood for 50 years. But I'm talking about our generation, because, our grandparents are getting younger and everything. We always trying to move and come up or whatever. We don't know our neighbor's name. We can't ask for no loaf of bread, no extra eggs or no sugar if we ran out and we don't want to run to the store because we don't even know them. We can't tell their kids, hey, you better get your behind in this house before I whoop you, and then tell your mama and daddy and they whoop you too. We don't have that no more. And so I think we need to start building that back up. But again, that is our biggest difference. And that might be another thing that segregation and integration did to our people.
It's crazy that you had covered my next question I was going to have for y'all. Is like, he had asked the question, and it was like, and Flake gonna know where I'm coming from with this one, is if the internet shut down or something actually happens that always is thrown out at certain times, I'm gonna leave it at that so I ain't going too specific, but just walk with me. It's, where would you and your crew meet at? You feel what I'm saying? And he was like, you feel what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if the internet shut down and you couldn't reach out to your closest people, are y'all close enough that you gonna know exactly of where you meeting at for like y'all war room? And it's crazy because it was like, he said people don't even know of where they would even start with that. It's like, what the hell he mean by that? Like, you know what I'm saying? So
that's crazy, man. Cause we talked about we be
exactly.
playing, but we serious.
Yeah,
but if it go
like,
down, everybody know where to pack up their family and be. Everybody know. what it is.
Yeah. And that ain't no game, ain't no joke.
Ain't no
That's real
game, ain't
deal.
no
Hey, bro,
joke.
like, we getting to,
Yeah.
and we'll know
Everybody
how to
pack it
account
up.
for
Let's
every.
go.
Yep. And it's crazy because it's like they be, the old heads, they just so seasoned, they didn't seen it all. So now at this point, really they just living their life until, like they say, how them old heads say they in the fourth quarter. So they just
Yeah.
enjoying life. But if they can say something to somebody, they got me by like 30, some of them almost 40 years. So they're talking, and it's a way different approach of how they look at life and the opportunities that we have. And so it was like, just to have these conversations with people that are actually doing stuff within the community or touching bases with people is dope to see. But he was like, I want y'all to realize the opportunity that you all have. But if you can't say to your partners, if everything's shut down, where everybody gonna get in their car and go to, you might need to get you some new people that you hanging around. Cause I know where me and mine going. Now we'll know how to connect with everybody else from there. But we know for immediately first stop. And hey, let's get prepared. You know what I mean? And you don't speak on that in public. People don't need to know that. But if you ain't got where you meet up at for the war room, that's why these conversations are important. Hopefully it'll just spark something. Be like, damn, I ain't even, because something really happened. Same people that you might have been tweeting about must be the ones you talking about help. And so we don't have time for that.
Right.
You're officially the ops. So
Right.
just be prepared. But this is a dope conversation, man. Did y'all have anything else in regards to that? Before
one
we
thing real quick. I wish that some of this new era, new age stopped saying when something happened is I'm not my grandmama, I'm not my granddad, I'm not my great grandma, I'm not my ancestors. We ain't going for that. If you do enough digging, violence happens quite often. Now, it ain't talked about as much, it's not put on the forefront. However, violence has been going on since slavery. Like it's been plantations that's been taken over. It's been white neighborhoods that's been taken over. It's been that stuff has happened, but once again, you won't hear about it. It's whitewashed or whatnot, so you won't hear about it as often. So don't think your ancestors were soft and were just taking it, because that wasn't the case. It was a lot of movements that were made. However, when you are outnumbered, you might not last as long as you thought. You might run through 2 or 3 plantations, but the fourth one, they might be done met up, and there's 100 folks waiting on you, and it might be the end. But yeah, please believe some things, some violence has occurred and has happened. That's why they was getting rid of certain groups like the Black Panther Party. That's why they was getting rid of Malcolm X, the way he was talking. They didn't want to see that revolutionary period of the past come back up, where neighborhoods and houses are getting torn up as well.
Yeah, that's I'll never agree with that, but I do love the shirt that I do see around Black History Time is my ancestors. What is it?
Wildest Dreams or something.
Yeah, Wildest Dreams. I think that's dope because that's the truth.
That's dope.
But like, oh, here say what you gonna do with it, and that's true. But yeah, that whole I'm not my ancestors. I don't know what you mean.
Bro, they was out here dying for the cause. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like they frontlined it and took plenty of L's
on bare feet.
Yeah.
I do want to say something because this goes back to the conversation I told you I was having with some of my mentors and everything before we even started this discussion and had the first episode, but then I told y'all whatever. One thing that one of my mentors told me, Dr. McCombs, my brother, he said that one of the biggest differences between now and then is prominence versus purpose. And so what we try to do is become prominent. So that's either financially, that's either individually, that's career-wise, that's whatever, and move up that ladder of prominence. That's with your house, that's whatever. Back then, they was all about purpose. So their purpose was my people, my community, my family, my loved ones, and all this other stuff. And so they wasn't so focused on the material things or the dollar. They was focused on the actual plight and issues at hand. Now all of us are looking for that pedestal of prominence. We're looking to be in the limelight. We're looking to be gifted. We're looking to have to be the best dressed and floss the most chains or jewelry or drive the flashiest cars, have the nicest house. We're looking for that bag every time. And they wasn't worried about the bag. They was more focused on the message. And so that's something that I just wanted to share that my mentor told me. And he was like, you know, that's the biggest difference between now and then is y'all, they was worried about purpose while y'all worried about prominence. And when he said y'all, he was including himself too, because he realized when I told him that our parents, which includes them because that's how much older they are to me, Mama Jenkins and Dr. McCombs. And so I told them, y'all was trying to move us up out of them situations and out of that neighborhood to give us a better life instead of building that cohesiveness and letting us grow up in that neighborhood, but telling us the do's and don'ts. You can't do this, you're not going to do this. Or even if you do it, get burned by it and learn your lesson from it, but build that community up. Y'all kept trying to give us better. And so by giving us better, it took us away from certain aspects of our community that end up maybe being a detriment to us and everything because they was focused on the prominence versus the purpose. And what the purpose would serve of if we stayed in our communities, if we bought our communities, if we spent our money in our communities, if we let our kids go to our neighbor's house and, you know, raise each other, you know, they say it takes a village to raise a child, you know, and if we kept that, we would be a whole lot better. But because we was focused on the prominence, that's part of the things that hindered us. And so that's something that I wanted to share.
So even like to check this out, like what blessing that we were able to be when we did the work that we did within the DFW area when we partnered with Miss, what was her name? What's her name? Miss
Rhonda.
Miss Rhonda. And in the individual event we did for the 225, 200 plus people that we were able to bless, right? Me and bro was joking, but it was in our seriousness is that when you're doing something like that collectively, getting closed up, it just shows you sometimes that it's not any knock because people can do whatever they want to do with money, but it's just sometimes that we have to get behind certain causes to push that forward because you never know of what domino that you could actually push over, what snowball you could get rolling because people need it. But when they see that you're actually intact with the community, that means a lot more. And I say that to say this is that there will be more people popping bottles in the club than will be actually tapping in with the people that are cleaning up in the neighborhoods or giving back to the homeless. And that's not everybody's agenda, but you can't say on one side, oh, we should be doing more, or hey, these billionaires should, when you have your ability as a millionaire or a thousandaire to do the same thing and you're not. So you can't call somebody else's pockets if you're not stepping up to the challenge yourself. I hear that a lot now. It's like, well, they should be doing this. Okay, what you do? You tweeting about it, you know, Instagramming about it, talk for what? Like if that man make $100 million a year and he gave it back 1,000, you didn't give nothing. You can't call what he did. You don't know what he's building up for his family. Could have been in debt. He could have paid off every family member college tuition. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of that going on. It's a lot of talking, basically like old heads say, and not enough action behind the things that people are trying to be actionable. But everybody complain. Everybody. And when I say everybody, I'm saying even for myself, I catch myself and I get to thinking, let me call brother, let me bounce this off him. Like, we could change this. It's something that we could do different. We don't like what's going on in the schools. We'll touch base on what we got going on here and what I'm trying to get established in Houston. That's just simple. It's like what you see, you make a change. But the whole talking and not really getting behind anybody being actionable, that's what got to stop because those are the people that'll lead people astray. Like, I don't know what they're doing with it. You know, natural women may be like, I don't know what you got a wig for. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Bald-headed dudes might be like, I ain't paying $4 for a haircut. It's so many different things that we can say of what people are doing, but when it comes to things with a purpose, we got to actually stand firm behind it. And we can't just be expecting somebody that you would consider an enemy to reach their hand out and tell you how to fight against them.
Nah, for real. For real.
Like, I'm not going to tell you how to beat me. Flake didn't tell me how to beat him in Mad when I was younger. I had to get better. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. If you want to use a simple term, it's not to make the game easier. It's how do you challenge them? How do you win? That's the game. But that's all I got. And don't you, hey man, did y'all see this? Just kind of closes up. Y'all see that damn pen that Ralph Lauren got? I posted on our IG. They got the African colors on the pen, bro, for $10. Hold up. Let me see if I can find this.
Not my boy Ralph, man. I got so
man,
much Ralph in the closet, man.
Man, we all guilty. We all guilty. We all guilty.
Not my boy. They tried.
Oh, you mean
they
like a pendant pen?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they tried it. They should ran that past a couple more black folks first.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest though, I'm not that mad at it because
I ain't mad at it.
Because that's the most non-ignorant thing we have seen a prominent clothing brand do. Because we had the H&M fiasco, we had the Gucci fiasco, we had what's it called? This is something, and again, I'm not saying that it's perfect, but what I'm saying is it's something that's saying, okay, we support, we're with you. And even if it's just a whisper, like you said, why are we counting and talking about, well, this, because somebody's always going to say something. At least he tried.
Yeah, you know what they did? They push a PI pandering. Everybody give a damn about that pen, dog.
Yeah, they pandering like a mug.
About that pen, dog.
Yeah, nobody care.
See, but the thing is, we don't care because we more in touch.
What's the pen going to? If they buy, what black organization are you giving that to?
Well, that's a great question, and that should be something that is going to. But I'm telling you this: these niggas who trying to stunt for with them Gucci flip flops and with them Gucci belts and Louis Vuitton, they for damn sure buying them pens, and so that's what I'm saying. Like we might be like, okay, that don't
work out, but my thing is, it's pandering. That's all. That's why I was
it definitely is. But at least
and
at least they did it right.
So I can't not.
At least they did it right. That's all I can say.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. I thought you was about to pull up something that's gonna be way worse. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't saying I agree with it, but I thought it was gonna be something way worse. Because the stuff we done seen.
Yeah.
I thought you was actually talking about a pen.
No. I'm talking about it looked like a little what's the name, man. But they love to play there in this good month of February, man. That's it.
Yes, sir. I ain't mad at it. I feel you though, but I ain't mad at it.
You know how it go. I think we almost won a well, we cool. I ended up chopping this up anyway.
Now we do 2 episodes. We wrapped up. It's did some research.
Okay.
It's a pen of solidarity.
Solidarity.
Solid. It's a pen of
solidarity. Look at Mayweather.
Come on, Mayweather. Come on, Floyd.
Look at here. Come on, Floyd.
Hold on. Let me see.
Hey, I'm going to turn to 50. Branson Cognac, Mitchell Maduro.
It was late, man. Solidity.
Here we go. I know my boy's gonna come through, man.
Who?
Ralph.
Oh. What Ralph lied about?
What was his statement?
It said to honor the PN's purpose as part of commitments to address systematic racism and racial injustice. 100% of the profits from the sale of each pen will be going to United Negro College Fund.
Okay. So now,
let me take that off IG then.
Funding scholars. No, you can take just fix. Well, I don't know what you put on there. Just fix the comment below and say, would he purchase?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm listening.
I mean, I know the game that they play. You know what I'm saying? Because they allow them to say 100% of the profits and the profits be 50 cents. You know what I mean? Hey man, it costs us $9.50 to make this pen.
All I ask is that don't you use our money to go give back to us. When you got them black collections, them big boy 350, 450. Yeah, talk to me now.
Hold up. Yeah, he said on this, it says contributed to the United Negro College Fund Ralph Lauren Scholarship Program. So the way I'm reading this, it seems like they already have a scholarship program that's been given.
So the United Negro College Fund.
Yeah, that's been given. Now, this could be written in a way to make us think that that's not the actual truth, because we know words can play games. But this is what it says, though.
Well, what I'm going to say is I'm going to keep it fun. It shouldn't have been done in February, just to be honest. However, it is the best thing I've seen from a fashion designer, a high-end fashion designer, trying to do something to relate to us. And so, as you just stated—
hold on. Not to cut you off, but the article I'm finding is back from November of 2021. They said this launched back in November 2021.
Okay. Well, did it launch, or did they?
It says on this article from November 22nd of 2021, last week we introduced the Ralph Lauren pen, a timeless, tangible symbol and united with Black African and African American communities, designed by our Black Advisory Council.
Oh, okay. Well, then somebody just probably pushed it out more harder during Black
History Month.
Okay. But so I take back the thing about it shouldn't have been done in February if it was formulated in November 2021. But I will say I salute you, because as we was talking about earlier, we have to accept the good with the bad. And if somebody's trying, all we could do is, give them their praise for it or whatnot. And to be honest, if this was out in November and I didn't know about it, and I guess none of y'all knew about it, he wasn't looking for attention or necessarily trying to pander for our dollars or our support. Hopefully, but you got to say that with a grain of salt, because you never know nobody's real motives. But I'm gonna salute him right now and say we appreciate you. So that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, and I could have missed it in the store. When I go on Polo, I know what I'm looking for. I get in and get out. I don't really be going over just looking all over the store. So, but
I'm gonna eat for effort.
And old man Leo voice, the folks got y'all, man. All they need to do is put out a pen and y'all with them.
Y'all don't even know nothing about that damn organization they support. Yeah. Hey, man, it's all good though, man. Yeah.
So for our Black Business Minute this week, we got Root Southern Table. Our story: Root Southern Table pays homage to the way Chef Tiffany Derry grew up eating in the South. Tiffany's grandmother always welcomed guests with food. Food is what held the family together. For her family, field-to-table eating was not a trend, but simply a way of life. Eating with the seasons, canning and preserving fresh picked fruits and vegetables, never letting anything go to waste. A true Southerner knows that pot liquor is the best part of a mess of greens. Friday evenings were reserved for family fish fries. Fried chicken was the centerpiece of any special occasion, and crawfish boils were a summer staple. Roots is more than the celebration of food. It is the celebration of who we are. Our founders, Chef Tiffany and Tom Foley, know that we are stronger together and that we must honor our roots. At Root Southern Table, Tom and Tiffany want to evoke the feeling that you're coming home to those you love. We hope you will join Tom and Tiffany at their table for great food, great service, and great conversation, and great impact. Roots is out here in the Dallas Farmers Branch, actually, so the DFW. And again, you could go to rootsoutherntable.com, ROOTSOUTHERNTABLE.com. And so Root Southern Table is our Black Business Minute.
Salute to Root Southern Table with that.
Yeah, and they got some 48-hour short ribs that, woo, with some mashed potatoes, they'll make you cuss.
Yeah, I'm gonna check them out next time I slide up. Excuse me, slide up that way.
You on mute.
Oh, dang. Well, the joke gone. Never mind. I said our Supreme Black Person of the Week was Ralph Lauren. Let's go, Ralph. D Rosa, get this on Ralph Lauren?
That nigga ain't even black.
Man, I'd have cut this whole I'll cut the whole thing off, man.
Our Supreme Black Person of the Week is Diane Nash, born in 1938, is an American civil rights activist and a leader of the student wing of civil rights movement. Nash campaigns were among the most successful of the era. Her efforts include the first successful civil rights campaign to integrate lunch counters in Nashville, the Freedom Riders who desegregated the interstate travel, co-founding the Student Nonviolent Coordination Committee, and a coalition, the Alabama Voting Rights Project, and working on the Selma Voting Rights Project. This helped gain passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which authorized the federal government to oversee and enforce state practices that assure African Americans and other minorities were not prevented from registering to vote. She has won multiple awards: the Rosa Parks Award, the Distinguished American Award, the LBJ Award for Leadership, it is not the LeBron James Award, and the Freedom Award. She was born in Chicago, Illinois. She is still alive today at the age of 83. She went to Howard University and Fisk University as well. So salute to Miss Diane Nash for your work as an activist within our community. We appreciate you and thank you very much. And that one is from my wife. She said, I'm picking your Supreme Black Person, and Miss Diane Nash is who she picked out.
She been having a problem with your previous ones or something?
Nah. She listened. I'm be honest with you, she listened to the podcast more than I thought she did. So she just came up with that. She just came up with that on her own or whatever. She ain't even got no YouTube account. I'm gonna have to hook up a YouTube account. I'm like, you be watching, but you can't like and comment if you ain't got no account. So, so I'm about to create a whole YouTube account.
Yeah.
She on the watch hours. She ain't on no like and comment though.
Yeah. That's what's up though. Salute.
Yeah, with that being said, for all our queens out there, put your crown on, tip that thing to the side, let them know y'all a queen. For all our kings out there, put them guns down, put your crown on, tip that thing to the side. Let them know you are a king. We're not 3/5 of anything. We are supremely black. And we out.